The Genie and the Grim Trap by L. Thomsen. "Why are you doing this to me?" The tone was of a confused, hurt adolescent boy, and not an elven high king to be. I cast my eyes to where my prisoner, Ang Liamnar Liam, crouched before me, unable to move without my command. The grim trap, a golden lamp bedecked with sapphires and opals, compelled his obeisance. His wide, dark brown eyes slanted in that pale, chiseled face of alien perfection as he entreated me. He would have held me enchanted, but because I'd bound his seventh-tier spell-weaving powers to the lamp, they were likewise bound in service to me. "I love you. It was I who set you free. I would have given you everything. Etruia, please." His lustrous voice cracked, and for an instant my resolve wavered. I tugged at the cord that was securing my brown hair tightly in a plain, unadorned ponytail. Blinking, I looked away, trying to lose myself in the hues of color cast by the sunset along the jagged horizon of the wilderness we were traversing. It was no good. I wished then I hadn't stopped to make camp. I regretted ever rubbing that damned lamp. I felt guilty and as barren as the twisted shrubbery surrounding us. There were also the memories of his kindness and the kisses that had sent my heart soaring. I had to be strong for my people. I must not falter. Yet I hated he was the one I'd reap my revenge from. He was not like the others. I had gotten to know him a little too well over the last month while I was setting my trap. Then I watched silently as he stepped into it. He was a scholar, not a warrior. I knew he had a surprising amount of compassion for a royal offspring of the race I hated most. But I could not relent. He might be young, his infatuation with me might have been love, and he might have proven to be a better leader of the Elven than any of his ancestors, but I could not take the chance. He was the last of his lineage, but so was I. His father and his brothers had seen to that. Yes, he might be young, but so was I when they took my twin, Bellaria, from me. Not just Bellaria. They had taken my entire family, all of my friends, servants, and subjects, in one of the elven long games that my father had always warned us about. 100 years had passed. In between I'd slept in my lamp, in a long game of my own. I waited for my spell to come full circle and draw one of the men to awaken me. I had hoped it might be his brother who sprung the trap, but a Venzoian Blightwalker had stolen his longevity, and he died years ago. The High King himself had been touched by an attack of the heart just a twin moon earlier, robbing me of my real target. At least I could rejoice that the race wars had cost the Elven dearly as well. The rest of Liam's brothers had all died as a result of the battles fought, and though the High King might have sired other children in time, his health had not permitted it. I hoped someone had poisoned the bastard to make it look like the burden of old age, but still my victory felt shallow. My vengeance had not meant to include falling in love. Etruia, the silken voice of the elven prince seduced me from my musings. "My love, please speak to me." I sighed. He deserved an explanation. He thought he was freeing me from the lamp, and thus binding me to him. But what he'd actually done was spring the grim trap, which caused him to switch places with me. Once entrapped, my first wish was to bind him to me in total obeisance. My second, well, I had all the wishes in the world, and he would not like my second. But that was for later. "You did nothing," I told him, my gaze weighed and candid. "But I would tell you what your father did, what your brothers did, what your army did." As though Liam feared what I was about to reveal, he shivered, causing his long crimson hair to sway in the evening breeze. I was cold too, and pulled my pale knitted tunic closer for warmth. Suddenly the old hurt was back. blazing. I was making soup in the kitchen when the attack came. I let my bitterness and anger leach into the words. I stepped closer to Ang Liamnar for added impact. My sister was beset with a cough that made her bark like a walrus. She and I were twins, so closely linked that her affliction grated on me. I wanted her to get well. She was getting married in less than a week. I worried how she might speak her vows without a voice. I worried where she might fit the obscene number of crumpled tissues in a dress fashioned of nothing more than lace. Ang Liamnar forgotten, I swallowed hard emotions. With a stab to the heart, my memories bloomed. She couldn't wait to marry. I wanted her day to be perfect, but she declined my offer of healing. My sister had none of my affinity. The talent was one of the few things she and I didn't share. Ever the stubborn one, she decided to make do without mystical intervention. Still, I wanted to help, so I decided to make a hot soup that I hoped would help quiet her cough. Of course, I could have forced her, but that was not my style, so I elected to take a more mundane approach to helping my sister. I was often in the cellar kitchen anyway, so none of the staff batted an eyelid when I came to make my non-magic potions and lotions. Cook greeted me with an affectionate but respectful "Magre Citruia," well met today. Will you require any help? I paused, fond memories wilting. I loved Cook. She made no fuss when I declined her offer of assistance. My sister's reluctance to embrace my help had annoyed me, but I was drawn back into an affable mood by the casual background noises of the kitchen. The place was alive with people and activity. I remember pondering whether to add garlic, then decided for it. I still recall the feel of the fat clove smashing under my palm when I broke it against the wooden board. Then, now it was my turn to quiver. The surge of violent magic hit in a flash. It was a blunt, booming, felt more than heard. It echoed in a silent shock wave which caused the very walls to shake. The weave pushed wild energy ahead of it in ripples like a stone cast upon a still pond. The energy expanded as it blasted through the kitchen, the reaping entity from an invisible construct. Everything slowed. I could see the weave spill through the kitchen, the foundations of my father's vast castle now groaning as the floor buckled and the staff screeched. Many lost their balance, falling like dominoes. My ears were ringing. I tried to get up, but couldn't. Those who somehow managed to stay on their feet tried in vain to stop the tables from upturning, the shelves from tipping, and utensils from rattling to the now mole-hole-shot floor, but it was a lost cause. Then the second weave took out the rest. A pillar buckled in the corner, the ceiling crashed in, a deluge of plaster and white dust. Screams erupted as pans of boiling water bounced from the stoves, splattering those nearby. I watched as ovens split. The giant fireplace shook apart, spilling hot coals onto the spit dog and maiming Cook as she tried to intercept. Mercy, Liam! I tried to counter the disaster with a flash weave to null the horrors, but it did not take as intended. It should have worked, but it didn't. Instead, the weaves behaved like lead weights as I grappled to effect a persuasion that never took. Ang Liamnar swallowed audibly, his pale skin almost transparent. I'm sorry. I cast him a blunt look and clutched my arm where the bracelet rested beneath my black sleeve. Are you? I taunted him. See, I knew of only one thing that would have such a detrimental effect on my affinity. I knew of only one race that could wield it with such precision, too. The Elvern. I shook my head. Soon the sounds of madness and mayhem siphoned through from the corridor beyond. The dust was settling. Again and again I tried to counteract the pressure on me, but it was too great for me to fight. How had the Elvern got past our outer defenses? And why now? What did they want? To end us all? Father always said that was their goal. Since childhood I'd learned to fear and hate the Elvern almost as much as the Venzoians. Father would always warn us that you arrogant varlets were slippery and heartless. Due to your longevity, you played the long game so very well in our insane war. Of all the races, he said, you were the ones to watch, to stay ahead of. And we had done, or at least we'd held our own, created balance, until that day. A tear broke free and skated rapidly down my cheek. I didn't care. I was their princess, and yet I was little better than an insect. I was on the floor, the wide flagstone under my hands now cracked by the force of the rogue impacts. My lungs were bruised and I could barely breathe, but I could watch the suffering created, the chaos and death. I heard steel on steel, heard the cries of the dying and injured, felt the oppressive magic persuasions of seventh-tier weavers tightening in all around me. Then your brother arrived. Ai ran fe Etruia, come Silvarnier. I swallowed the memory of the fear that had clutched my heart when I heard that rich voice. They were looking for me, I accused, my residual magic clearly guiding them like a beacon, but I'd rather die than be taken. They didn't get you? Liam whispered, still prostrate before me. I hadn't allowed him to move. But how? I had an artifact, I hissed, recalling how, guided by sheer panic and fear, I'd managed movement enough to reach a hand beneath the simple pale knitwear of my tunic, to clasp the silver armlet on my left wrist. My blood activated the weave within its design. The shield of invisibility settled around my frame like a second skin, and a good thing, too. Next, your brother vaulted into the now broken kitchen, his curved blade soiled with blood, raised at the ready. Alien leather uniform of silver and black, stirring an image of both whipcord strength and danger. I didn't know who he was, but you resemble him in looks a great deal. Indeed, I would have found him devastatingly handsome, if not for the feral, hate-filled expression and the merciless slant of his tilted citrine eyes that narrowed as he surveyed the kitchen. So I cowed as more men followed. I'd never been this close to anyone of the Elvern before. They were as handsome as my mother's garden in full bloom, yet as deadly as a pack of Venzoian hyats. They were looking for me, for the twin princess. A spell-weaver arrived and detected a lingering glimmer of my presence. Anger and frustration ruled them, and then the slaughter began. Mercy! If my captive could have moved, I knew he would have come to me then. He would have enfolded me in his arms and comforted me. I could see it in his eyes. No deceit, no arrogance. I cut short my feelings and turned my back on him. He looked nothing like his brother now. It made me glad, but also sad. Your brother did not comprehend how the remaining kitchen staff would not betray me. But how could they? They could not see me. The magic-blinded servants had no means by which to detect my whereabouts, even had they wanted. So he executed them one by one. I sighed. I would have given myself up, but I had not the strength nor power to do so. I resented every heartbeat, every cruel slash of their blades, every twist of magic. Eventually they left. Eventually. Days passed, I think. I could not move, but I did not want to. In due course the original binding spell began to lift. Weak and fearful of what I might find, I stumbled through the remains of the kitchen. My next sigh became a sob. What met me was the rubble of my father's kingdom, the desecration and enslavement of what had been my world, my people's world, my family's world. I made it to the stateroom the day your celebrated father sent my father kicking and screaming into a grim trap. It was a full-length silver mirror, They left it on display for a week before your brother with the raven eyes and the pale hair smashed it, leaving my father to wander the in-between forever, with neither a way back nor forward. By then my mother and my other siblings were already gone, but my twin had become your father's trophy. Liam, they'd hurt her! Even as my father suffered his demise, her gaze was fixed on something only she could see. I paused. I swore I would save my sister, and I almost did. Later that night I found her. I dropped my guise and got through to her, implored her to leave with me, and for a blink her gaze turned lucid, and her voice spoke reason, yet I had already lost her. I closed my eyes. I am not long for the void, Etruria. No, I protested. No, Bellaria. We can go now, before they come back. Etruria, listen and listen well. My twin smiled bitterly. They killed Gendaron, my love, my light. They forced a wedding night upon me, but I will not give life to the High King's bastard spawn. I will not. But I can heal. No, sister. No, you cannot. Bellaria's smile softened. I have feasted upon the Nerium, but you can make them pay. Like Papa said, remember the long game. I remember. A sound escaped Liam. I realized I'd been speaking aloud. Bellaria shushed me. I continued tonelessly. I knew we did not have long, as though she'd planned it. My twin pointed towards a golden lamp, the one we now both know so well, and I hastily grasped it, cradling it in my arms. The Elven covet things of beauty almost as much as they covet power, Bellaria told me. Do you remember the old tales of faraway lands we used to read? Remember the one about the genie in the lamp? I nodded. I remembered. You will have to sleep for a little while, Bellaria told me, but enchant the lamp to awaken you when the century is up. Cast a spell to make it a grim trap. Avenge us. Play the long game and turn it against them. Take back the future. Make the maggots crawl. I stared at the lamp. I knew exactly what she was saying. Some thoughts never need to be spoken aloud between us. I could cast a weave just to ensure my lamp would attract the most powerful Elven royal. If enough time passed, they would never suspect foul play. Not being a real genie, I would not be bound as one, and... You were never a genie? My prisoner blinked, understanding slowly clearing the clouds from his eyes. Was that anger I spied as he knelt before me like a slave? Of course not. I made my voice hard and made myself laugh as though bemused by his ailing intellect. And neither are you. Still, the lamp binds your life just the same. And you, my love, you will help me take back the territories your father stole from the humans. You will help bring your nation to its knees, and you will do it with a smile if I order you to. The lamp is verily a grim trap. Until then, I don't think Liam had believed my callous intentions. Up till then, I think he'd still held out the belief that I hadn't intentionally gone out of my way to rain misery down on his existence. But now he saw me for what I was, for what I really wanted. My soul shriveled when I witnessed his dark eyes narrow with the pain of betrayal, then anger. Before long it would turn to hate. I knew it. My heart shattered into 1,000 cold pieces. Suddenly he looked just like his brother after all. He tried to move. I could feel the ripple across the weaves of magic that tied him to the lamp. I couldn't bear it. Rise, I demanded, and he flowed upright. The move was elegant and fluid, but I spied danger in his abused aura. Tilting my head to look him in the eye, ignoring the tears that formed in my own, I said, Your soldiers, your hunters are following us. I want you to stop them. Now. A tick pulled at his jaw. How? My love, I want you to kill them all. You are clever. I am sure you can think of something suitably terrifying, something that will echo all the way back to your crystal palace." "You would start another war," he growled, fists clenching. "No, my love," I smiled as those icy pieces of my heart solidified. "I would finish one and make the maggots crawl."